Welcome everyone. This is our July 3rd meeting of the Committee of Adjustments. And we've got lots of people in the crowd, that's great. This is a hybrid meeting. We are online as well. And the municipality of Strathroy-Caradoc acknowledges that it's located on Treaty 21 territory. We are thankful to the generations of people who've taken care of this land, including the Chippewas of the Thames First Nation, the Munsee Delaware First Nation, and the Oneida Nation of the Thames. So for the roll call, I'll go to Sasha.
Thank you, Chair. My name is Sajal Aswada, and I'm the Acting Secretary-Treasurer for the Committee of Adjustment here tonight. I will be hosting the meeting and managing participants. Committee members joining us this evening include Councillor Kennis, Member Kumar, Member Vian, Councillor Pelkman, Deputy Mayor McGuire, Councillor Derbyshire, and Member Terpstra, who is also our Chair. Municipal staff in attendance this evening are Alyssa Soldo, which is our planner from Middlesex, County of Middlesex, Tim Williams, Manager of Planning with the County of Middlesex, Jake DeRitter, Manager of Growth and Development, and Melanie from Legal and Legislative Services team. Tonight we have 3 applications to be heard by the committee. The chair will introduce each application and provide the applicant and agent an opportunity to speak to the application. The planner will follow with the report. The public will then be invited to make comments or ask questions about the application. The chair will then call upon the committee to ask questions and make comments before the chair calls for a vote on the application. Once a decision is made, there's a 20-day appeal period from the date of decision for minor variances and 20 days from the date of notice of decision for consent. If anyone wishes to be notified of the decision, you can make a request today or make a written request following this meeting. For our virtual participants, please ensure your name is visible in your Zoom video, and we ask that you keep yourself muted until it is your turn to speak. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. First off, I'm looking for a recommendation of the approval of the agenda for tonight. Frank, seconded by Steve. All in favor? That carries. Number 3, declaration of pecuniary interest. Mike?
I'll make an indirect pecuniary interest on minor variance BBP 2025-60 at 490 Peterson Ave. Immediate family member owns a residence on the same house in that same vicinity.
Okay, noted. Then I'm looking for the approval of the minutes, a recommendation to approve the minutes from last month. Frank, second by Dale. All in favor? Carries. So then we've got our submissions for consideration. The first one is an application for minor variance A13-2025. This is at 490 Pearson Ave. And we've got one person on Zoom, and Mike will be leaving the room.
Just make sure those are turned off.
Okay, and owner's Craig Simmons, or is Craig in the room? Yep, hi Craig, welcome to our meeting. I'll have Alyssa do a report first, and then I can come back to you if you have any questions. Alyssa.
Thank you, Chair. The minor variance application before committee this evening is seeking relief from section 5.35 of the Strathroy-Caradoc zoning bylaw to permit an addition to the existing single detached dwelling that is 1.35 meters from the rear yard line, whereas a minimum 8-meter rear yard setback is required. The application will facilitate the construction of a 580 square foot home addition, which is to contain an attached secondary suite. The subject property is located on the west side of Peterson Avenue, east of Head Street North in Strathroy. The property is approximately 933 square meters in size with 14.3 meters of frontage along Peterson Avenue. The lands currently contain a 2-story single detached dwelling on municipal services. The applicant is proposing to construct an addition onto the existing dwelling to create an attached secondary suite for family use. As a result, they require a variance from the required rear yard setback, as the rear property line is slanted with its shallowest point in the corner of the lot where this addition is being proposed. A comment was provided by a member of the public with concerns about the addition impacting the existing landscaping on the applicant's property, which includes trees and hedges that they wish to remain to provide a vegetation buffer. The owner has noted that they intended to remove these trees regardless of this development and have been in contact with the Conservation Authority and are following municipal bylaws. A second comment was provided by another member of the public with concerns about a crane truck parked in the driveway and that they wanted addressed prior to this application being considered. They mentioned zoning and bylaw infractions. From a zoning perspective, our review indicates that an F-350 truck does not exceed the weight limit, which is the zoning bylaw provision that they noted. And bylaw has been made aware of the parking situation, and they have noted that they cannot regulate the truck being parked on their own property, but they can continue to monitor if the truck is parked on the road for more than 2 hours. The third comment was provided by another member of the public with concerns about the close proximity of the addition, height, and window locations. The closest point of the addition would be 1.35 meters, although the rest of the addition is further set back. The addition will only be 1 story in height, and the windows are only to provide light within the structure, not to allow its residents to look into neighboring properties. Provided agency comments include the St. Clair Region Conservation Authority, who have no concerns with the proposed application. I have reviewed the application against the 4 tests of the Planning Act, and as indicated in the report, it is staff's opinion that this application does meet the 4 tests, and as such, I am recommending that minor variance application A13-2025 be approved. Thank you.
Thank you, Alyssa. Craig, any comments to add to that?
I would like to just bring it over to our designer. He's much more influenced in this than I am.
Sure. Can I ask you to come up to the mic so
Sure.
I'll hear you? That'd be great. And state your name for our record as well.
All right, I'm Ted Logston from Bayview Design Group in Sarnia. So I guess, I've read the report from staff and as well seen the concerns from the neighbors. Just a couple things that I did want to bring up. I guess the trees, they were looking at removing those regardless. The windows, we did make sure the windows were up high enough that there won't be any view from the owners into the neighboring properties. In fact, the way the building is positioned, it will actually provide more privacy for the neighbors because currently the upper floor windows, you've got a view into the backyards. This will help alleviate that. And I guess beyond that, I'm here to answer any questions that the committee may have.
Good, thank you for that. I'm first going to go to the gallery. Are there any questions from neighbors or concerns? Seeing none, then I'll go to the committee. Any questions, concerns by the committee member? Steve?
Yes, thank you. Through the chair to either the property owner or the designer, my recollection of the backyards there, 490, 488, and 486 is that there's a swale and a drain back there. How do you intend to move the stormwater, the above ground flow from your property down to that storm drain with the way the addition is situated?
Yeah, I can take that one. I believe during the permitting process, a grading plan will be required for that anyway, so we would sort of defer that to the experts and make sure that that grading so that the swale would be maintained and water diverted away from the neighbor's property and to where it's supposed to go.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions, comments, concerns from our committee members? Then I'm looking for a recommendation. Frank?
To approve.
Okay, it's seconded by Dale. All in favor? And that carries. Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Our second one is an application for minor variance A14-2025, 401 Victoria Street. Owner is Mark Skripnik. Did I get that right? Yeah, good. And Mark, you're here, are you?
Sorry?
Is Mark here? Yep. Welcome, Mark. Okay, then first I'll go to Alyssa for your report on this one.
Thank you, Chair. The minor variance application before committee is seeking relief from section 4.22 of the Strathroy-Caradoc zoning bylaw to permit an accessory building that is 78.1 square meters in size for a total accessory building lot coverage of 239.9 square meters, whereas a maximum accessory building lot coverage of 169.36 square meters is permitted, given the ground floor area of the existing dwelling. The applicant is also seeking relief from section 4.25 to permit an accessory structure height of 4.62 meters, whereas a maximum height of 4.5 meters is permitted. The variances will facilitate the construction of a 78.1 square meter accessory structure to be used as a private garage with storage space above. The subject property is located on the east side of Victoria Street, south of Kittredge Avenue West in Strathroy. The property is approximately 1.46 acres in size with 80.74 meters of frontage along Victoria Street. The subject property currently contains a 2-story single detached dwelling with an attached garage and a shed. The property is on municipal water services and a private sewage system. The southern portion of the lands are regulated by the St. Clair Region Conservation Authority. The applicant is proposing to construct a private garage with storage space above with a covered breezeway and a carport. And as a result, the applicant is requesting a variance from the total accessory building lot coverage to permit an additional 70.54 square meters over the maximum permitted 80% of the gross floor area of the dwelling. And additionally, the accessory structure will require variance to permit the height of 4.62 meters to provide space above the garage for storage. No comments were provided by the public prior to the development of this report. Provided agency comments include the St. Clair Region Conservation Authority, who have no concerns with the proposed application, as it appears to be outside of their regulated area. I have reviewed the application against the floor test of the Planning Act, and as indicated in the report, it's staff's opinion that this application does meet the 4 tests. As such, I am recommending that minor variance application A14-2025 be approved. Thank you.
Thanks for that, Alyssa. Mark, do you have any comments to add to that?
Just one or two?
Sure.
Can I do it from here, or?
If you go to the mic, please.
Thank you for your opportunity to present myself here today on behalf of myself and my wife Fishna. We've been members of the community for 25 years now on that same property. If you go off the park, there's an old Victorian there behind the hedges. Well, that's us. We've been there 25 years. It's been a bit of a money pit, but it's starting to look really nice. We're very proud of it. So as you can appreciate on an acreage like that, you need tools, you need your lawn tractors, you need a variety of items to keep it beautiful. We're very proud of it, and that's what we want to do. So that's what this building is for. I hope that it's not a real terrible concern for the extra 4.5 inches tall. I realize the 78 extra meters, is probably the biggest question we're dealing with here today. It's kind of ironic that if my house was not a 3-story and a larger bungalow, we wouldn't even be having this meeting. It's not a question about the lot coverage. It's simply a question about the calculation between the size of my square footage, my small house, and the shed I want to build. So I hope that's taken into consideration, because I really, really want this.
Okay.
So thank you very much.
Thanks for sharing. Any other comments from the gallery? No? Seeing none, I'm going to go to the committee. Committee members, any questions, concerning comments? Start with Mike.
Thank you, Chair. Very unique piece of property, and I've enjoyed watching you develop it over the many years. Certainly it's a fixture in Strathroy for those of us that grew up here. Excellent use of the property. Really happy to see somebody developing it. I have no concerns and am in full favor of this minor variance.
Okay, Steve?
Yeah, I would agree. Even with the oversized building and the extra height and the positioning of it, no one's even going to notice it. So I'm more than happy to move the recommendation that's on the report.
Okay, so there's a recommendation, second by Mike. All in favor? It passes, thank you.
Thank you.
And our third one tonight's an application for consent. B10-2025 is 106 Front Street West in Strathroy. The owner is a numbered company. Is the owner in the gallery today, the property? Yeah.
Agent,
Agent? Okay. And your name?
Kevin Vanderveen.
Okay, thank you. And we'll start, Alyssa, with your report on it.
Thank you, Chair. This application before committee tonight is seeking permission to sever a lot from an existing residential parcel. The severance will facilitate the proposal to construct a 2-story multi-unit residential building on the severed lot. The subject property is a through lot located south of Front Street West and west of Thomas Street in Strathroy. The subject property as a whole is approximately 1,083.7 square meters in size, with 22.55 meters of frontage along Front Street West and 22.8 meters of frontage along Calendar Lane. The lands to be retained are approximately 413.4 square meters in size, with 11.55 meters of frontage along Front Street West and 3 meters of frontage along Calendar Lane, containing a single detached dwelling on full municipal services and an accessory shed. The lands to be severed are approximately 670.3 square meters in size, with 11 meters of frontage along Front Street West and 19.7 meters of frontage along Calendar Lane. 5 letters were provided by the public opposing the application with various comments. Concerning the lot size for the proposed development, the lot coverage has not been exceeded and sufficient green space is still being provided with the proposal. This lot is within the downtown area on a main street, which is in an area intended for higher density developments, such as proposed. Concerning access onto the property, pedestrian access is being proposed off of Front Street West, and a parking lot is proposed from Calendar Lane with 2-way traffic. Concerning the historical character of the neighborhood, the municipality does not have control over how a proposal is designed and how it looks. Suggestions can be made and discussed with the applicant, but this cannot be enforced. Concerning the existing sewage infrastructure, engineering has reviewed the application and have no concerns with the drainage. Any further comments on this aspect can be directed to Jake DeRitter. Concerning property values, this is not a test of the Planning Act, and we cannot confirm any increase or decrease in surrounding home values. Concerning parking and garbage and recycling pickup, parking is being provided on site for these tenants. And on-street parking is available to all members of the public to utilize on Front Street West. And any difficulties with garbage pickup and recycling are not expected to change with the proposed development. Concerning construction impacting or damaging surrounding homes, the construction of any development on this property is to be done correctly in a way that does not damage surrounding homes, and construction is also temporary. Provided agency comments include the manager of growth and development noting that parking spaces 7 and 8 on the site plan are to be accessed from an internal driveway and not from Calendar Lane, and that the site will be required to go through a site alteration process. The provincial planning statement, Middlesex County official plans, and Strathroy-Caradoc official plan and zoning bylaw all permit and encourage intensification and infill development within settlement areas. The proposed development will maximize the utilization of this property, and the minor deviations from the zoning bylaw will be addressed through further planning applications, which would include another public meeting. And therefore, staff are of the opinion that the severed lot can accommodate the medium density residential use as proposed. Given the above, and within the report, I am recommending approval of consent application B10-2025, subject to the conditions provided in the report. Thank you.
Thank you, Alyssa. Any comments from the agent on this property?
Nothing more, Alyssa,
Okay.
related.
All right, good.
Yeah.
And I invite anyone else that may have any comments to Alyssa's report, or any comments about the property.
I do.
Yep.
I
And
have
I
a
need,
question.
yep.
How,
So I need you to come up to the mic
Oh.
and state your name. It's Greta, but
we'll sneeze past you. Sorry.
No worries.
My name's Greta Vanderhook. I live at 102 Front Street West. How are you gonna get 2-lane traffic down Calendar Lane? Like, it's a, what do you call it? It's an alley.
Mhm.
Single lane. Like, how are you gonna get 2-lane traffic through there? I don't.
Can I go back to you, Tim? Is it a 2-lane road, or listen,
It's not 2-lane, it's a, well, you guys should know that. I shouldn't have to stand you, as soon as she said 2-lane, somebody should have went, oopsie daisy. It's a, yeah, I don't even know what to say.
At best, it's 1.5.
Yes. I never took my car through there. It's always the last thing to get plowed. There's a tiny, where I live at 102 West, there's another tiny little cottage behind me. Like, I would have, and that's sitting right on the edge. Sorry, I'm really nervous. I don't speak well when I'm nervous. That house is sitting right on the edge of that lane. Where is the construction traffic gonna go? Is it coming off of Front Street West in front of, like, coming in from the downtown? Sorry, really nervous now. Or is it coming down Calendar Lane? Like, where are those excavate? You're gonna have to dig a hole. Where's the dirt going? Where are you gonna haul it? You can't send it down a laneway that's not even, my Ford Focus could go down there. I think the garbage truck can go down, but I don't, like, how are you gonna, I don't know. Somebody needs to answer these questions for me.
I'll go to Jake if you have some answers.
And I also want to say that the scuttlebutt already is, you're saying that the storage shed behind the house is going to be retained. I heard that it was going to be torn down. And I also heard that, I may be speaking out of turn, but gossip runs fast. So because it's right next to me, this affects me greatly. They're supposed to be apparently tearing down that shed and tearing down the deck that's attached to the back of the house that's existing, that's going to be retained. And there's also rumors that they're going to tear the house down. And that has apparently come directly from the agent. So I want these issues to be addressed, and maybe you can tell me it's none of my business if you want, but this angers me. Why these have to be rental units? If this thing would have come across and said, hey, these are condos, this is an opportunity for somebody to buy something, I would have looked at the whole thing differently. But now we got another money grab situation, and there's going to be people angry with each other. Can we not have a community that just talks to each other before we do this? It's not a roadway.
Okay.
It's a lane. Somebody go take a walk. It's right over there.
Yep. Okay, thank you for your comments.
Thank you.
I'm gonna go back to Jake.
Sorry, I didn't do that very well.
I'll start with the traffic. So it is a lane, it's not a full roadway, and that's not the intention for it to be used as. It's essentially an access point to the driveway, right? So it's kind of a driveway to the driveway. There isn't a full intention for there to be through traffic through there. And as far as construction, I'm not sure where they'll access it from. Likely it'd be from Front Street, but once they get an excavator on site there, they'll keep all the material likely on site until they're done building. So I don't imagine there'd be a lot of truck traffic, but we're kind of early on, and that's kind of outside the scope of this application tonight. And as far as demoing the house, existing house, not sure that's up to the owner. Again, kind of outside the scope of this application tonight. It's up to them whether they want to demo it or not. Our understanding is that they do want to retain that existing house.
Okay, thank you. I got a question here from Mike.
Probably Steve and I remember these things well. They're called fire lanes, is what we're referring to. They existed in many communities. They certainly existed in Strathroy. Some have been closed, some have been maintained. Primarily the ones that run immediately north and south of Front Street. They were used to fight fires 100 years ago when there was short hoses and no big trucks. Calendar Lane was named probably 15 to 20 years ago because people needed to identify where emergency services were going. And in fact, on this lane, there is a house that needs a house number. So it needs a street so that it could get a 911 number. So I do remember all of that occurring back in the day. So no, it is not a street, and it's not supposed to be up to those standards. That's the road. So I'll speak to the consent application if I may, Chair. We're not authorizing the sixplex, as I understand, and I guess my question through you, Chair, is to staff. If I make an incorrect statement, please stop me, but we're not agreeing to the sixplex because this is an R1 zone currently, and so that the most it could facilitate would be a residence that could have 3 dwelling units in it by right, currently under the planning statement. I know, we trip over that, it's changed so many times. So that's what's in front of us. I'm not sure, in my mind, unless somebody can point it out to me, where we can stop the consent, because it is a separate lot, just because of the size of it. So it's definitely the size of a lot. So the consent aspect is one issue that I'm not seeing where I would be able to deny that under all of the provincial guidelines for infrastructure intensification where there is infrastructure. The concept of R2 zoning, and back over to staff, that would come to council to make a determination on that matter, right? But even when that matter is addressed, so if zoning was changed, we never really get to dictate what style of building goes up there. So we can't say it has to be a brick building or it has to be 1980s design, or like, we don't, from all of my dealings at the council level, we don't get to dictate that in any format. Am I correct? And I see Tim Williams nodding his head extensively. So do you have comments about that, just to make perfectly clear what's going on?
Through the chair, you are correct. The consent application is mainly just looking at the lot area having a separate parcel from what is existing, and then there would be further applications depending on the decision of the committee, where it would go to council to look at zoning bylaw amendment process, which would more so deal with the building envelope and any variations. But you're correct that there's nothing that allows us to enforce how we depict this structure to look and what we can decide on those kinds of factors. Those are kind of out of our control.
Just a follow-up. So, but many times I find through this committee of adjustment and through council with site plans, and there wouldn't be a site plan on this, but when we're discussing a zoning change, frequently the owner, their plans seem to change depending on what's coming forth from the community and what council speaks about when we're addressing those questions ourselves. So, I mean, I see one plan in front of us, but at no point in time in this process are we saying that piece that we see in the submission, we're not agreeing that sixplex is going to get built on that property. That's a whole different decision. Am I correct on that?
I'm just going to go to we've got someone on Zoom waiting for a question.
Can I have my question answered? I asked if I was correct on that, and they nodded yes, but I just wanted for the record. Was my statement correct? My last statement?
Through the chair, yes, you are correct.
Thank you.
So we're on Zoom. There we go, we see it now.
I deal with construction all the time. I deal with the city of London a lot. Quite significantly to the point of saying that no, you cannot build a two-story building.
Excuse me, I'm going to interrupt here because we missed your comments there. I'm sorry, I need you to start over.
So David Ball here. I work with the hospital in London, actually. I am actually the owner of one of the properties directly next to this. double lane. That's gonna be a highway with those cars, and it's gonna be blocking Front Street, which of course is public, so that is open for fair game. But along where this structure is being built, there's like zero clearance on either side. I'm not exactly sure how they're gonna fit that in there. I'm not sure that the plan is actually, I can't actually read the numbers that are on the plan there, that's so small. So I'm not sure that it's actually scale design. But anyway, outside of that, this is a towering 2.5-story structure. And these are, and you have a cottage on either side that are a single-story bungalow. So these things are gonna be towering over on either, to the properties on either side. And everybody's gonna be looking down into the yards of those two homes on either side of this. I would say if we were talking about a single story or maybe a 1.5-story building, and they were designed to match, so they were the old, century-old yellow brick homes, that might make sense. But yeah, definitely I agree. It should never be a sixplex in there. Even a threeplex, I think is too much. So, but those are my opinions, and I don't know whether there's anything that the council can do about that. But I can tell you that other city councils are doing an excessive amount of control over what is actually built in those areas with other municipalities.
Okay, thank you for your comments. I'm gonna go back to our committee first, and then I'll come back to you over here. Let's start, Brian.
Thank you. So I just wanted clarification where what I'm gonna say, Deputy Mayor, Mike, I didn't know, yeah, no, that's what I normally say. Where Mike was headed with this. So right now, we are just approving the severance of the two properties. We're not approving the building of a sixplex. So everyone knows where we're at, sitting in this room, that's what we're doing right now. It will then come forward again for whatever building they're going to put there. That is correct?
Through the chair, you are correct.
Okay, does that help some people in the back there?
Is that gonna be a public meeting when this comes around?
I would say yes.
I live about 4 doors down, and we have a lovely century street there. And from what I saw on here, my blood boils.
Okay, so I'm just having, I'm next. So Steve is next, and then the lady in the back.
Should finish the public first.
Okay, the lady in the back, I don't know your name. If you can state your name and.
I'm also very nervous, so please bear with me. My name's Karina Bruggeman, and first of all, I want to thank you all for letting me speak. I have a few issues with this, both the severance and obviously the sixplex. I feel this application will change the character of our neighborhood forever. There's environmental impact, it takes away the green space being replaced with cars, pavement, and noise. The severance will set a precedent encouraging further development, undermining the neighborhood heritage. The town is protecting the downtown design guidelines, so there must be a way to do some kind of protections. And I would suggest to extend Front Street west to what we know is that Victorian garden that's been there for years and years. That of itself is a heritage feature, in my opinion. And that would include the whole neighborhood. The neighborhood is actually part of the downtown that this council tries so hard, and I appreciate that, of keeping that downtown feeling. So in my opinion, to not include this area is admitting the gem that it truly is that beautifies the downtown. It's not just about saving the bricks and mortars, it's about protecting the craftsmanship and the culture in this neighborhood. When I was in grade 8, I did a project at the Strathroy in public school for Strathroy architecture. I had an opportunity to walk that street when I was little. At that young age, I was taught the beauty of the old houses and the United Church. I was taught the history of the heart of this town, where Dr. Sharp lived, where Dr. Vine lived, and how the community came together for their care there. In 2011, Strathroy did a tour to show the community and educate the value and the history of this neighborhood. It was that project in grade 8 that taught me the value of past details, craftsmanship that went into the buildings, the homes, the churches. It was that sparked my interest in architecture, history, and antiques. It was that taught me the appreciation to take care of the past, as once it's gone, it's gone. Robbing our children of learning that opportunity to appreciate our past community. I most recently walked with my great niece in this very neighborhood, showing her the buildings and the trees. It's not just another street. It is the downtown. It's the architecture. It's the environmental benefits. It has educational value for our future generations. It has emotion values for the past community that was the heart of this town years ago. So I feel allowing the severance even creates a slippery slope. If we grant this one, it will be the first of many, because there's other slivers on this road that they will be developing. Homes can start to be torn down, to replace with multi-units. I don't feel that's what we should take a chance on. It's not just one home that's creating the ambiance, it's the history of this neighborhood. I ask that you do not put this stamp on or make this your legacy. This is our town gem, it's our neighborhood, it's part of the downtown. As far as the sixplex goes, I understand it's a R1 density. My one question is, I'm not sure how we're calculating 8 parking spots. Because to my calculation, we have a potential of 15. There's already a shortage of parking down there. I have 2 rentals down there, both of them. They park there, and that's only gonna get worse as the downtown grows. So I'm not sure how we're calculating 8. And then accompanying with that, on that small lane, which we've already shared, there's all this snow going that's gonna be in this parking lot. I did have one question. I don't know if that sliver of lane that's going to the existing house, if that's allowing traffic to get in there, like a vehicle, if it's wide enough for a vehicle, I don't know, it may be. That's a lot of traffic for the lane. It's not just a road, it's actually a lane. The sewer capability, I don't want to question, but I do have a house at 146. I had 5 backup sewers before it was fixed. They had to take a tree down, which I was very saddened by. I'm assuming by allowing this severance, there's a very old locust tree on that property that I would imagine we'll lose if it goes into a sewer. That property has a very old magnolia tree on it. I don't know if any of these things mean to any of you. I do suggest, as my fellow neighbor there, I do suggest you take a walk in that neighborhood before you make a decision and actually ask yourself, is this really what we want to do with this little gem that's really a part of the downtown? Thank you. Did you have any questions? No?
Thank you for your comments.
That's all I got to say.
So David online, you've got another question?
So is there, I'm just wondering if there's any sort of restriction around, you know, a property that has a lane or drive to remove that from that property. And what that, are they able to do that? You know, so create a property without, so they've obviously bought 106 and the land around it with the intent to do this, to sell the land and to isolate that house. Or is that not a reason to be able to object to the severance?
Your comment is that that little strip is too narrow for a laneway?
It looks like it would be too narrow for a laneway, again, without having proper dimensions of the here. It's difficult to tell. It is certainly like the challenge will be is that knowing that street, how narrow that street is, and then knowing, you know, if you're putting a laneway on there, actually, if you look at the 114 property there, you can see where the driveway is, so you can see how wide that is. That's hardly enough to turn a small vehicle in and out of. So a laneway as narrow as what's shown on that plan, there's no way you'd be able to get a vehicle of any size turned into there off that lane. It's just too tight.
Okay, thanks for that. I'm gonna go to Mike.
Thank you. I'm gonna motion that this be declined, and I'm gonna do that because I've heard from the residents, and we all know the provincial policy statement, now the provincial planning statement, and I get all of that, but at some point in time, communities have to push back and say, we wanna maintain our community the way it is. And I agree with Ms. Brugman, and you spoke very well, wherever you are. I don't want to lose the downtown. So I'll put the motion on the floor that it be declined.
Any other comments first off?
This is motion on the floor, not a seconder.
Yeah, okay, I'm gonna call for a seconder first. Is there support for that? Support from Dale?
Now, may I speak?
Now you have a question.
Thank you. Not so much a question as comments. Some of the things people in the audience are not going to like to hear, and some of them they will. So as some of the people know, I lived on 132 Front Street on the corner of Front and Mariah for 20 years. The first 20 years of my life, I've been in every backyard playing hide and seek and know those properties pretty intimately. What I'm going to say that you're not going to like to hear is that we don't have the power to dictate what people use their property. So if there's a tree on the property and people want to cut it down, we can't stop that, whether they build a house or not. As far as the parking goes and the traffic on Calendar Lane, if you go on the other side of Front Street, there are more cars on the same size lane, on the same length of lane than there is on Calendar Lane. If you go on the other side of Mariah Street between Mariah and Metcalf, you again have more driveways than there are on this stretch of lane. So as far as the extra traffic and how people are gonna get in and out, I don't really see that as a hindrance to putting something on that site. I do not agree with the sixplex. I do not agree with the narrow driveway on the back of the original house. I think that should be a minimum of a 2-lane driveway. If you were to develop something on the street, and I'll use something from the same neighborhood, on Joe Lamania's old property, there was a house built that doesn't look like the other houses on the street, but does not fit in either. What I would suggest is whatever is built here has a front porch, so it matches all the other houses on the street that has a front porch. I would probably drop the house so that it doesn't have 2.5 stories, that it's a 2-story house. Now, in saying that, the house that I grew up in, the first floor was probably 4 feet off the ground anyways, which is a similar elevation, probably. Might be close, I don't know. But I would probably drop that down and I would probably make it a 4-plex. I think that would allow for similar parking that you see on Calendar Lane where the car just pulls in, there's no interior driveway, you just got 4 cars stacked in a row, a little bit of green space, and then 2 cars for the other one where they're not stacked in and out. Because if you had 2 cars on the original house, from a practical standpoint, and someone needed to get that first car out, that means you're backing a car out onto the line and trying to get the first one out. If they're side by side, at least then it makes for easy in and out of the laneway. Unfortunately, I'm going to get a vote against Mike's motion because I feel like we can't dictate to people what they can do with a piece of property, but I would strongly recommend, and I would not vote for a sixplex on a zoning change. I can't see anything more than 4 units going there, and even better if it was 3, because 3 you don't even have to change the zoning for. You would still have increased and gotten the value off of the second lot, which I was assuming when the house went up for sale, somebody was gonna do that. You know, if I was talking about the property across from the park where the old Johnson house is, there's a lot there. I won't be surprised if somebody tries to build something there someday too. I don't think we can stop that legally. This is saying that I want it to change, but legally we have to operate within the law, and I don't think we have the ability to stop it. So, but in saying that, I will tell the owner of the property right here, you come to a sixplex with council and I'm not voting for it. And I would be looking for those design changes so that something that's built there at least fits in with what's already built there, because it is, you know, it's an old street, and so whatever's built there should have some old architectural feel to it, even though it's new timber and new brick.
Okay, so any other new comments to that? I've got a couple in the back.
Well, hang on,
Yeah.
it's at council now, we can't take statements from public.
Oh,
There's a motion on the floor.
So we're gonna
You have
get
to call
to
the
this
motion.
motion.
You have to call the motion.
Okay, so I'm going to call the motion, so we do have support.
Just call the
Recommendation to decline and supported by Dale. Who's in favor of that? And against? So that does not carry.
Thank you.
Steve?
I would like to see this go back and the property lines change. I'm not willing to consider this one that's in front of us. So I would make a motion to send, I'm not sure how that works. Is that a motion to defer or to send it back to staff to work with the property owner?
Okay, is there support for that? And that's Frank? All in favor of that?
Oh, so before you call it, so we're deferring it to send it back, but we can't, sorry, I didn't turn my, so the motion is to defer it to send it back, wanting a change in it, but that's denying, that's the motion to deny. Like, I don't know that we can force them to now reapply. They've made this application in front of Committee of Adjustment. So you either approve it or you don't approve it. We're sending it back saying resubmit. I think we need an opinion on that.
Mike is right, actually.
Mike is right.
So then that puts us in a quandary, because I put a motion on the floor to deny, which was defeated. So now I'm stuck, because I'm not a clerk, but.
So this is to defer it, right? And based on Steve's comment, you didn't like the narrow lane of this property, so it would have to be redesigned or rechange the lines of where you want the severance to land. My opinion.
So if we're deferring it, they're allowed to come back with other options.
What happens if he doesn't? They say no.
Then they bring it back in front of the committee and then we say no.
We've done it before where we sent them back and said reconfigure and come back to us next meeting or a later date. I think that's essentially what we're saying here. Come back with a different design or a different laneway and we'll reconsider it at that point.
That's my understanding. So then we've heard comments. Is there any other comment to that? Then I'm going to call for the vote. That all in favor of deferring, and that carries. So we'll see it again. Okay, thank you for all your comments. Any announcements or inquiries by members? Seeing none, You see your scheduled meetings, our next one is August the 7th at 5:30. And then I'm looking for a recommendation for adjournment from Dale and supported by Frank. All in favor? And we are adjourned. Thank you.